Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking at how to make healthcare information a little bit easier to swallow.
Okay.
And a little bit more interesting for people, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of information out there.
It is.
And a lot of times it can be pretty dry.
It can be very dry and
It's
inaccessible.
Yeah, so we've got some source material all about creating engaging healthcare content.
Right.
And it's a multi-day plan.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
We're just looking at one specific day,
Right.
day 13.
Right.
Create an infographic.
Create an infographic.
So I think that this is a really interesting concept because, even if you're not doing a big content plan,
Right.
maybe you're a doctor or a nurse or you work in a hospital or, just a concerned citizen who wants to get information out there about, specific condition or something like that.
Absolutely.
Infographics are a really great way to do that.
Well, and it speaks to just this, I think, shift in how we're all consuming information.
Yeah.
We are visual creatures, right?
We are bombarded with text constantly. And I think that something about an image can just cut through all of that.
Totally. And it just makes it easier to digest.
Yeah, and to remember and to share.
Absolutely.
So this checklist kind of dives into how to create an effective infographic.
Okay.
The first thing it says is to choose a complex concept
Right.
that you want to explain.
You got to pick something that, could benefit from a visual representation.
Something that might be kind of difficult to explain.
Right.
With just words.
Yeah. Or a process or a relationship between different factors.
Yeah. And then you've got to gather the data and the research to back it up.
Exactly. You want to make sure it's accurate, evidence-based, not just making things up.
Right. And then it suggests using tools like Canva or Pictochart for the design, which I think is great because you don't have to be a graphic designer.
Professional designer to use those tools.
To make something that looks really professional.
Yeah. They have so many templates and design elements that are, easy to use, drag and drop.
And then it talks about branding it with your logo, contact info, all of that good stuff. But then there's this whole section on engagement. And I thought that this was really interesting because it's not enough to just create this beautiful infographic and put it up on the internet.
You got to get people talking about it.
You got to get people talking about it. You got to get people to interact with it.
Absolutely. And the checklist actually mentions Grant McGough, the CEO of 5-Star BDM. Now, I'm not familiar with him specifically or his company, but I know that they're known for their effective use of graphics in healthcare marketing. So it seems like this is something he's doing, right? Like he's getting that engagement.
So what are some ways that we can do that?
Well, I think social media is a really obvious one. I mean, post some questions related to the infographic. Start a conversation. You could even have like a live Q&A session.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Where you delve deeper into the topic.
Yeah.
Or you could even have, interactive elements directly in the infographic. Like a quiz or a poll or even just, clickable sections. That reveal more information.
So you're really making this like a two-way street.
Yeah, it's not just about putting the information out there. It's about making it a dynamic experience.
That's really cool. And I think it's important because, we've talked about how much information is out there. And how it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you can make it something that people are actually interested in, engaging with, then it's much more likely to stick.
Right. And it's so much more likely to actually make a difference in people's lives.
So what are some of the things that we as the creators of these infographics need to think about to make sure that they are actually effective?
Well, I think first and foremost, accuracy is paramount. You've got to make sure that the information is correct. It's evidence-based. And you're citing your sources. But then beyond that, I think it's really about understanding your audience. Who are you trying to reach? What are their needs? What are their concerns? And how can you tailor the information to them in a way that's going to be meaningful and impactful?
Yeah, I think that that's so important. And it can be easy to forget that.
It can.
Because we get so caught up in the data and the information.
Like, excited about the topic. Yeah.
We forget that we're trying to reach real people.
Right.
So what's something that our listeners can do today to kind of put this into practice?
Well, I would say think about a health concept that you find personally challenging to explain. Maybe it's something that you struggle with yourself. Maybe it's something that you see your family members. or friends struggling with. And ask yourself, how could an infographic make that information more accessible, more engaging, more memorable?
Yeah, that's great advice.
And then go for it.
Yeah, I love that. This has been such a great conversation. I think it's really opened my eyes to the power of infographics and visual communication.
It is powerful
in general. So thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us and for sharing your insights.
It's been a pleasure.
And for our listeners out there, how do you think the rise of visual content is changing how we learn about health?
That's a great question. I think it's a really important one to consider, because it's not just about, the pretty pictures. It's about the way that our brains are wired and how we process information.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to really think about that and how it's impacting your own health literacy.
That's a great point to leave us on. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.